Hi, I'm Dr. Elizabeth Coyne, and with me today I have Mariana, and she's just going to talk about your diet. Mariana, did you want to introduce yourself?
I will. Thank you, Elizabeth. My name is Marianne Bock Christensen, and I'm a clinical dietitian and nutrition researcher from University College Copenhagen. And as Elizabeth told you, I'll be talking a bit about managing diet during stress. and
So, one of the things, Marianne, like you've talked about here, or you're presenting here, is this interactions between diet and stress. And can you tell us a little bit about the importance of your diet?
yes, maintaining a healthy diet is important for us for a lot of reasons. Of course, we need a healthy diet for all the physiological functions in the body to make sure that, yeah, the body functions as it should, and to maintain our immune system, and to reduce the risk of diet-related diseases. But there's also becoming more and more focus on the role of diet in relation to mental health and in relation to our mood and our well-being.
Mm,
Um, so, so the diet can play an important role in relation to development of stress and to our psychological well-being. But as we all know, it can be very difficult to maintain a healthy diet, especially during times when we're stressed and when we're facing challenges in
yeah.
our family life.
Is there any suggestions? Because a lot of people, when they get really stressed, they sort of literally often feel sick. So, is there some ideas that you can sort of suggest to overcome that?
Um, yes, well, one of the things I'll be talking about is how to how to use your diet to help you uh, feel better
Hmm.
during these stressful times.
Yep.
Um, and if you go to the next one, yeah. Um, you all probably know the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating, and those are the recommendations on how to have a, a varied diet, and the advice is that you should enjoy a variety of nutritious food from the different food groups every day. So focusing on vegetables. Recommendation is 5 servings per day for women, and yeah, 5 or 6 for men, depending on age. Focusing on whole grain cereal, focusing on the lean meat, fish, nuts, to make sure that you get protein. Focusing on the reduced fat dairy products
Mm,
and fruits. And so these are the recommendations um, that apply for healthy adults. And as I said before, those are the recommendations that are aiming to make sure that we supply the body with the nutrients it needs for its physiological functions, to reduce the risk of diet-related diseases. But these dietary recommendations also make very good sense in relation to your mental health and your well-being.
mm,
Some of the newer research suggests that especially fruits and vegetables and fish, especially the oily fish, where we have a lot of the healthy omega-3 fatty acids, so some of the healthy fat, and also nuts that also contain a lot of the healthy fats. That those are some of the foods that um, seems especially seems to be beneficial for mental health.
mm.
Um,
So, would what
so
a good idea, Marianne, be to sort of have, maybe nuts and fruit and vegetables in little snack boxes to eat through the day, to sort of try and just keep a bit healthy, but also if they're good for your stress reduction.
That would be a very good idea, yes, Elizabeth. That would also make sure that you, that you always have a healthy snack by your hand, and also it may help. A lot of people might not necessarily feel that hungry during the day when they're stressed. So have something to remind yourself to make sure that you eat something during the day. So that would be a very good idea.
Yeah. And like sort of the beauty of a fruit is that it actually takes very little to prepare, because that's one of the other things often with when you're a bit stressed is getting that sort of preparation aspect. So, having the fruit also helps it to be easily to prepared.
It does, yes. So, and that's also a great tip to find out all the easy solutions that you can use during the day, and find out which foods are easier and prepares or requires less preparation.
Yeah. And should you, like, one of the things that we talked about before was this benefit of having, one sort of really good meal a day. Do you just want to sort of explain a bit how that, your meal routines are really part of our stress balance?
Yes. As I mentioned before, often if you're stressed, you might not feel that hungry, or you might not prioritize to have the time for your meals. But keeping a regular, having your regular meals during the day, and also making sure that you have some balanced meals, so you have some of the different food groups in your different meals. It may help you maintain a more stable energy level during the day. For example, if you don't have your lunch, you might end up late afternoon. Maybe you didn't really feel hungry during the day, but suddenly late afternoon, you just feel completely exhausted and you have no energy left.
That's when you reach for the chocolate, isn't it, Marianne?
Yes, especially you might feel really hungry, and if you're going down buying groceries for the dinner, it's probably not the healthier choices that ends up.
One of the things with meal times, especially in Australia, and I know in Denmark also, is that the real aspect of family and discussions, and so in times of stress, is it important to sort of really try and keep those times as precious?
Yes, that is very important. To also, we often talk a lot about what you should eat and which foods you should have during the day, but it's also very important to think about how you have your meals. So the meal is it has an important social function in the family as well, and so really make sure that you prioritize this the meal as family time. And of course, you might not have all your meals with your family, but even the meals that you have on your own, make sure that, of course, it's not a social event if you have the meal by yourself, but still make sure that you have some good meal routines when you're eating by yourself. So a lot of us tend, I know I do sometimes, to maybe eat in front of the computer or in front of the TV, and so when we're doing that, we're focusing on all other things than the food we're eating, and we end up maybe eating more than we really need, um, and we don't necessarily enjoy the food. So a really good advice is to, when you have your meals, so make sure that you prioritize to have the time for the meal, to sit down at a table, and have a proper meal.
I think
Another, yeah.
well, I was going to say and a good idea is sometimes also to look at the surroundings of the meal. So, even simple things like having placemats or a tablecloth, maybe
Yes.
candles, and
Yeah.
music. So it really adds that atmosphere, which is helping to reduce the stress, which again then looks at sort of that aspect of, reducing and improving your ability to digest the meal, which would make you feel better after the meal as well. I
Yes.
noticed
Yeah.
you've got there eating mindfully. What sort
Yes.
of aspect does that relate to?
Um, it was in the session. I think it was 2 weeks ago in the group. Dr. Russell introduced to mindfulness and also to the concept of mindful eating, and mindfulness is can also be used in at the meals, uh, to make sure that you're present at the meal and that you're using all your senses, so that you're noticing and registering the flavors of the meal, the texture of the food, making sure that you actually listen to your body on when are you hungry and when are you full. Um, so being present at the meal can also be a good strategy to help you maintain a healthier diet and to help you also reduce your stress levels.
Yeah. One of the other things with being mindful when you're eating is not having electronic devices and really being aware of that, being present, not being on phones, etc.
Yes.
And the other thing that often can be that's something that you could discuss is that you look at the subjects that you talk about over the mealtime, and so sometimes you don't want to discuss the bad problems over a meal, because that can actually affect your digestion. And so maybe sort of they say that meal times is a time where we only discuss happy things and the good things in our lives, and be grateful for that, as opposed to it being often a time where people might come together and it becomes a stressful sum up of what's happened in the day, which does not really then assist that sort of whole aspect of meal times being a time of relaxation and to sort of have that good digestion. I noticed the other thing there you've talked about is drinking water. And I know in Australia we often have, really sort of push the use of a water bottle. How much water should we be drinking each day?
We should be drinking around between 1.5 to 2 liters of water. So make sure that you get hydrated during the day. Also, because if you don't have enough water during the day, you might end up maybe you don't necessarily feel thirsty. Actually, sometimes the body confuses the feeling of thirst, so you end up feeling hungry instead.
Mm.
And then again, you reach for the chocolate or something like that, and maybe the thing that you were actually missing was some fluid
Yeah.
instead.
The other things, some of our snack food is often very salty, which again sort of changes that balance of our water. So it is really
Yes.
important to have a consistent approach to water, and maybe
Yes.
look at that
Yeah.
halfway through the day to identify, oh,
Yeah.
I haven't drunk much today. And
Yes.
especially in our Australian environment, if you're
Yeah.
spending a lot of time waiting, sometimes you don't want to drink because you don't want to have to go to the toilet. But it's very important to actually, make sure you're drinking balanced and eating, and then
Yes.
sort of going to the toilet when needed, as opposed to trying to hold off. The other
And
thing that
also being aware that, of course, in Australia you have some higher temperatures than we do in Denmark, and also like during these really warm times, make sure that you get, then you need even more fluid during the day, um,
yeah, yeah.
to account for that.
Yeah, and especially I think if you're sitting around a lot, you often don't feel thirsty, but that
No.
it does. You still actually need to drink. Um,
Yes.
one of the things that is often people find stressful in relation to sort of getting a good diet is how to actually manage that. Now you've talked here and you've got on your slide about planning ahead. and meal plans. Can you sort of give us a bit of an idea what a meal plan might be?
Yes. So a meal plan would be to sit down and actually plan maybe a week ahead, or maybe a shorter or longer time span works better for you. But then you sit down and you actually plan, what are we going to have for the meals during this week? And it can be a really helpful tool for you to manage the diet during a busy daily life.
Yeah.
So when you're planning the week, make sure that the meals that you plan, and so make sure that some of the ingredients you can use the ingredients in on several days. So you make sure that if you buy a cabbage or whatever, maybe you don't necessarily eat that in one day. So then make sure that you can use it again
Yep.
one of the following days in another meal.
Yeah.
And it can be a good, maybe it can be a family project, sitting down Sunday evening planning the
Yeah.
week, what are we
Yeah.
going to have.
A, a,
um,
a good idea sometimes is to sort of think about, how you can use different bases. I know sort of if you make a really nice savory mince base, you can use it
yes,
with rice and pasta, with fresh vegetables, or, in sort of a bread roll, or, tacos. And so it's sometimes a good way to sort of plan ahead, maybe to make a large portion of a meal that can be the base of many other different aspects,
yes.
which then sort of means that the next time round you may just need to cook some rice. It's not that the whole meal is not prepared, but the base is. Another,
That is a very good idea.
yeah,
It can also be to make an extra portion,
mm,
and maybe store in the freezer
yep,
for one of the days where you don't have that much energy, or where you don't have that much time. So then you know that you always have something
yeah.
that's just
Um,
quickly prepared.
and I notice how you've got sort of the differences of what might be easier foods. Is there any difference between like frozen vegetables and fresh vegetables in the nutritional value?
No, in the nutritional, in relation to the nutritional values, the frozen fruits and vegetables are just as healthy and nutritious as the fresh ones. Actually, sometimes they even contain more vitamins and minerals. Because often the frozen vegetables and fruits, they are being harvested just in the right season, and they are quickly frozen. So it maintains a lot of the nutrients in these vegetables.
Mm,
Sometimes the ones that are fresh, still they might be, of course, it's not in Australia, it might not be the you don't necessarily have that much exported
mm.
fruits
Yeah,
and
we do.
vegetables.
We do actually have a lot of fresh fruit and vegetables at our hands.
Yes,
Um,
yeah,
I think your ideas here of sort of what meals are convenience and healthier takeaways, because I think that's important to not always make yourself think, oh, I have to cook a home cooked meal to have that healthy option, but you could have healthy options as small prepared convenience meals or takeaways, and even the home meal kits are a great idea, aren't they?
yes, they are. They can be a great help, because then you um, sometimes you don't even have to to plan anything, or you get everything you need to prepare
Mm,
this meal. So it can be a really good solution. And as you also said, finding out which local takeaway places have some healthy solutions that you can use on the days where you don't have that much time or that much energy, because you can have a healthy diet even though you don't necessarily cook all the things yourself.
yeah.
Um,
I think one of the good things with hospitals now, they really do have the healthier options, and so they'll often have muesli and fruit, which can be used if you had to miss breakfast or come in early. They often have healthy salads for lunch, and then a range of meals. And so it's important, even when you're in hospital for a long, different long lengths of period, that you either have brought your own food, but also look for the healthy options in the canteens and the hospitals.
Yes.
You've got the comment there about the emergency plan.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. The emergency plan is a really good advice. It's of course when you make your meal plan and you also plan on how am I going to do this week with the meals and with the diet. But we all know that things don't necessarily go as we planned. Often they don't. So always have, when you have your meal plan, make sure that you have your plan B as well, or you have your emergency plan. Um, as we talked about before, if you end up late afternoon, maybe you didn't really eat properly during the day, you're tired, you're stressed out, and then you have to figure out what are we going to have for dinner today, and you have to prepare something, and you just don't necessarily have the time, or maybe the things that you planned on your meal plan, suddenly you don't have the energy to prepare it, or you can often make the unhealthier choices in those situations. So because you don't necessarily see the good solutions in
yeah,
this situation. So sometimes it's a good idea to like have your emergency plan. So maybe a note written to yourself, saying, "Oh, Elizabeth, when you end up in these situations, remember that you actually have this
pumpkin soup
um,
in the freezer.
yeah, pumpkin soup in the freezer, or you remember that the local takeaway place on the corner, they actually have this really nice shrimp salad
Yeah,
or whatever it is. So
yeah,
have um, your emergency plan. So when you end up in these situations, what can I do to still have a healthy or healthier choice in those
yeah, yeah.
situations?
Because I think one of the things that it's often becomes is that when you're stressed and overtired, then you go for a poor dietary choice, which just compounds your stress and overtired, rather than actually trying to correct that. One of the things that often happens when you are, supporting someone in hospital is that your friends and your family offer you meals, and I think one of the important things is to really think about the meals, and don't be afraid to sort of speak up and say, well, can you get some fruit, or can you, sort of design a meal plan with the meals that you've been given, because otherwise you could end up with 5 sets of lasagna, and meals that are too heavy for you when you're feeling stressed. And so it's really important that if you're being have friends that are helping you, or you're maybe helping a friend, that you actually ask what sort of meals, or what sort of help they might need with their to manage their diet. And so
Yes.
our last point is, just looking at this balance. And you were talking before about the fact that, it's okay if things go off balance one day, but then just sort of try and just get that focus back. And
Yes.
yeah, so do you want to explain a bit more about that?
Yeah, often when we think about healthy diet, we a lot of people tend to go into this dichotomous thinking. So either it's healthy or it's unhealthy. But in reality, it's all about the balance. So of course, a lot of us, or of course, we sometimes if we have this all or nothing way of thinking, it makes it more difficult for us to keep this balance and
Mm,
to maintain a healthy diet. So for instance, if you make your diet plan and already or if you make your plan on Sunday, and already Tuesday you need um, to to take the emergency plan into action, or you end up making some unhealthier choices, you might tend to think that, oh, okay, so it didn't work this week, then I might as well just skip the rest of the week for this plan. Instead of thinking, well, okay, it didn't work Tuesday, but we'll give it a go again Wednesday, and we'll see how that goes. And also with the, of course, the chocolate bar is not the healthiest food, but again, in a varied diet, there's also space for some of the unhealthier choices. So instead of like if you end up making the chocolate bar forbidden food for yourself, it might as well, you might end up craving it even more. And then instead of letting yourself have some chocolate once in a while and then say, okay, I'll have the chocolate, but I'll eat it mindfully, I'll enjoy it, and while I have it, and if you make it forbidden for yourself, you might still end up eating the chocolate, and then afterwards you will just you'll feel guilty because you said that you shouldn't have this chocolate, and then instead of just enjoying this piece of chocolate, you'll think, well, I might as well just eat the whole box of chocolates instead, because now I already have the one.
I think that's a really important point, that it's if you're a person that sort of does fall into that trap, it's important to have sort of some really good healthy snacks that are still like, so maybe instead of a chocolate bar you might have chocolate muesli bar, so it's sort of like still sort of enables that sense of sort of eating something that's really nice, because often that's when we're stressed, we do feel like sitting down and having a cup of coffee and something yummy. So it's important that you don't you have that balance and that ability to actually get that that nice food, because it is what sort of then helps us just to relax. And just to finish off, we in our intervention, our Facebook group, we really wanted to see photos of you sharing family meals and times of happiness, and your best experiences of providing the meal for family members. And I think two things that are important: that if your family member is in hospital, that to take a meal to share together whilst they're in hospital is also a really good idea, and you can take a nice healthy meal so that you're not watching them eat, or they're sort of feeling lost with the hospital food all the time. And the other thing is, if when you're by yourself, is that you can also actually set up, especially now, FaceTime while you're eating. And so you may be home by yourself and they may be in hospital, but you can still have the phone on, or the the FaceTime in the computer, where you can sit together and be eating and having a conversation as if they're in the same room, yet you're sort of in a distance. And I think COVID has really challenged our way of thinking of how we can connect with people, as we have demonstrated here, of doing a presentation with us in 2 different countries and across time zones. And I just really like to thank Mariana for her time, her morning, my afternoon, and and for her great advice about sort of diet and keeping healthy, and the how that diet has such an influence on our own personal stress and well-being. And just thank you so much, Mariana.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I was happy to be here. On to be here online. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.